Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup of Joe with Joe and Joe podcast. I am your host, Joe, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Joe.
Oh man, you know when your parents own a cappuccino maker, it's a good incentive to move back home.
It was nice hearing you actually take a sip. I feel like has it been 1 week or 2 weeks? I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Man. We had those wine weeks. We had a good
we
had a good couple of wine weeks, but that was also like the last, big sprint to the finish of the semester. But like the past 2 weeks, it's like I was like, you know what? I gotta use these meal plan points. Let me go to the coffee place at school, and they give it in like the Starbucks cup, and it's like at one point I think it was the last recording we did. I was thinking about just pouring it from the Starbucks cup into like two separate mugs, and I was like, it's all right.
It's all right. But yeah, so that's something just to mention real quick. I mean, as of right now, the date of recording, May 17th, our final day as undergrads. This is it. All of our stuff is turned in. We've had some L's, but we've had some massive dubs. We won't get into it. No. But come the end of this week, we will have graduated. So that's pretty cool, and something that I'm just throwing in because if we ever listen back to these in, I don't know, a couple months, couple years, something like that, and we come back and we're just like, oh yeah, this was the one where we graduated. Kind of. We're done with the work. Now we just need to actually do the graduating. But next week we'll have been hopefully graduated, unless, I don't know, like a meteor, fucking hits campus or something.
Joe finds out he fails a class and he doesn't have enough credits to graduate.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bueno, especially since I've had advisors be like, okay, so let's just double check all this stuff. What was this for? And I'm like, oh my God, I thought we did all this already.
Yeah, did you get that all figured out with the broad stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. That was figured out. Boring stuff. We're not here to talk about that,
I just
Joe.
wanted
We are
to double
here
check.
to talk about...
I never followed up. Never followed up. I gotta make sure.
Joe, no news is good news in this instance. All right, so today we are here to talk about something very near and dear to my heart and I believe your heart, both of our hearts.
Definitely, yeah.
Both Joe's hearts, very near and dear.
Your trifecta, even though I'd say, yes. Like, I just need to get this out there. Your trifecta, like, I recognize how the three are related. Like, there is definitely a relationship between the three. I don't view it in my mind as, like, the three favorites or the three best. It's almost like I view them, like, almost, I don't know, like, their own separate, like, entity.
Yeah, they definitely have a unique style all their own, I would say. And we might go into a little bit of that with this one. So, it's pretty obvious from the thumbnail, and because we mentioned it last one, blah, 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 blah. Today we're talking about the 2001 animated film.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on 1 second.
It's 2001. I have it written down.
It is, okay. Good. The 2001 animated film Atlantis, The Lost Empire. So, Joe, because I picked this movie, you know what it's time for.
Super speed. Okay. Sprinting position. I'm ready. Are you ready?
I am ready. You ready for the countdown?
Let me hear it.
On your mark, get set.
Okay, so we start off with the amazing animation. Amazing. It's crazy. It's really cool. And we see all this crazy technology of Atlantis, and you're like, holy crap, like, look at this civilization. And then it's like, there's a big wave, and it looks like they're, like, going to be drowned, and people are running. There's a big dome, and they ended up going underwater. And so you're like, oh, wow, the first, like, 2 minutes was, like, the myth of Atlantis. That's pretty cool. You get the dramatic title card, get into that. Oh, this is awesome. That got my attention. We get introduced to the main character. He's a professor presenting research on the history of Atlantis, and he's presenting it to a board, hoping to get a grant to do more research, and then you realize it's not actually a board, it's just fruits and lamps that he dressed up as people. They make fun of him.
You do.
They think he's a crackpot. eventually, his grandpa's old friend, who's like this millionaire, is like, actually, I believe you. And I was good friends with your grandpa, and I told him I would fund research for this. And he's like, holy shit, yes. So he gets a crew. There's a lot of money. He meets his crew, and they're like, okay, we're going to go fucking find Atlantis. And this is all because his grandpa found a book called The Shepherd's Journal, which has like all the information of like how to get to Atlantis. So you meet all the crew, and I'm not going to go over them now, but they're all very, unique personalities, stuff like that, different traits that help them get through. Very similar to like Armageddon. Now that I think about it, never made that connection until this moment.
Never seen it, but okay, I believe you.
Really? Okay, that's something I got to note. Armageddon. Okay, moving on.
This is so lightning fast.
They start to find They start looking to find Atlantis. There's a Leviathan. They literally lose 90% of the crew. They end up finding Atlantis, and you're like, holy crap, look at this place. It's still alive. And then you find out that the guys that came along are actually bad guys, and they want to steal stuff to make money. They take over. They're like, we're taking over, you savages. And then they leave with like this crystal that the homie's girlfriend turned into. It's basically like a never-ending power source. And they try and get away, and they're like, you know what? We can't let them get away. Let's fight to get the crystal back, because then everything's going to die. They fight. They get the crystal back. Everybody gets some gold. They go home. Milo decides to stay and pretty much just be like, yep, I'm going to be like the ruler here with my girl. And then everybody goes home, and they find out, okay, we're not going to tell anybody about this. We didn't find anything, but we're going to keep the money. And there's a cute little sentimental thing at the end.
Yes. Very nice, very lovely. So what first I do want to talk about, because there are so many things to talk about that I love in this movie.
Yeah.
The art design, it's great. Story's pretty cool. Characters, though, baby, those side characters. Joe, I'm gonna go through a whole bunch of names right now. Okay. You can't fucking stop me. So you got your main character. You got Milo Thatch. Then I think this is. I think I wrote these down in order of appearance. I don't know. Milo Thatch. Then you have the lovely, the seductive Helga Sinclair. Then you have the equally seductive Preston Whitmore. Then you have Mole. Then you have Vinny. Then you got Audrey, Sweet, Cookie. Those are two different people. Rourke and Mrs. Packard. There are more that we'll get to. Kita's one. The King. He doesn't. I don't think he has a name, but I don't know. Everyone just refers to him as the King. But like all those characters, oh my god, I love every single one of them. I have a personal favorite out of that entire group of people that I just named, but I kind of just want to like go through them all and just like real briefly say what you think of them, Joe. Okay. What do you think about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Milo's great. He is. I love him. He's such a nerd.
Yeah.
But such a great nerd. Like really passionate about what he's interested in, and he doesn't let people kind of talk him. Even though people kind of like don't take him seriously, he still pushes through, and I really admire him for that. And I think he's a great main character. He has enough drive, but enough flaws. You know what I mean? He's not perfect. Helga, I mean, she's a baddie. I don't know why she doesn't have a German accent. That would have made sense.
I think she's Russian.
Russian.
Hang on, what's Sinclair? What's the last name? Sinclair.
Sinclair.
Sinclair. Origins.
Let me hear this. I'm interested.
Taken from the Hermit State, ultimately from Latin Claris. Scotland. It's Scottish. Wait. Region origin. No, that's not it. Is Sinclair Viking? Where does Sinclair come from? Tell me. Scottish. Yeah, it's Scottish. Okay. So she's Scottish.
Okay. Cool. Well, I was expecting her to have an accent, but she's pretty cool. She's tough. My favorite, oh man, I love my man Vinny.
Dude, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Is Vinny your favorite?
Vinny's I fucking love Vinny.
Oh man, he's awesome.
I fucking love Vinny. His introduction when when Milo bumps into him and he's just asking about what he's got in the card. He's like, oh, dynamite, some C4,
glycerin.
Couple of, yeah, exactly, nitroglycerin, paper clips, big ones, anything you need. It's like, I love Vinny so much. He's such a great he's such a funny guy. I think he's funnier than the actual like comedic relief character Mole. But also I enjoy all of Mole's stuff as well. I just think Mole is probably like middle school me humor, and then me now humor. I'm a little more sophisticated, you see. So my tastes, my palate has matured. So now I'm just a really big Vinny fan.
I completely agree with that. So when I was younger, Mole was my favorite. I thought he was freaking crazy. I'm like, what the hell is this Mole guy? Like, the dirt.
You must not disturb the dirt.
Oh yeah, I thought he was hilarious. My dad loved him, but I love Vinny. Vinny, the flower shop, the Italian guy. He always got that the match instead of like a cigarette. He's got
Yes,
a match. Oh my god, love him. I find him hilarious.
it
Um,
was like a Steiner from God.
yeah, the accent's hilarious, man. I love
He's got
him.
so much good.
Sweet is pretty cool. I like him. He doesn't get too much time, but he's cool. Um,
He's awesome. I just love how much of a teddy bear he is, and
yeah,
how like just the big teddy bear.
yeah. Audrey is funny. Um, oh man, yeah. Audrey, I just think is funny, and I like how she's tough. Cookie, Cookie is basically just like the old prospector.
Mm-hmm. He's got your four basic food groups, Joe: beans, bacon, whiskey, and lard. What more do you need?
Wow, did you have that written down, or you got that by memory now?
Oh, and I got that in Joe. I've seen this movie so many
Oh
times. I
man,
have
that
so many of these lines in my
that
brain.
makes me really happy. Oh, yeah. If you could see how much I'm smiling right now. Oh my God. Okay, yeah. Cookie's cool. I
What
yeah,
about Packard, the the
uh,
old lady who's just always
okay,
on the phone?
okay. I know. I literally. So there's so many old ladies I know that are literally her. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I love her. Like, honey, he took his suitcase. I don't think he's coming back.
Mm-hmm. Just all of her conversations with her friends, and then when their sub is getting attacked, we're jumping into some plot stuff right now, but when the sub's getting attacked and she's just on the phone with her gal pals, and they're just like, Packard, move it! And she's still talking on the phone, and they're like, Packard! And she's like, all right, honey, I'll call you back. No, 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 I'll call you. Okay, bye bye. And then she just like she's talking perfectly straight at like on the phone. Meanwhile, the entire sub is shaking and there are lights blaring and sirens wailing, and she's just perfectly calm. She's like, "All right, I've lived long enough. If I go, I go. What more do I have to say? You know?"
Exactly. Yeah. She's great. They depicted the old smoker lady who doesn't give a fuck really damn well.
Oh yeah. And then we have Rourke, who is just the embodiment of military asshole.
Oh my god, it's literally the most he's literally GI Joe to the max.
You would know more than I don't know anything about GI Joe.
See, I've seen. It was interesting. I watched the one of the original live action films when I was younger, but I never like played with the toys. I was always interested with it, but I think my mom never wanted me to like. Keep in mind, when I was really young, my mom didn't want me to watch Power Rangers. Um,
Yeah, it's all she does. She's like, Joey, you cannot watch this military propaganda,
yeah,
which of course is what Power Rangers is.
exactly. My mom's like fighting, guns, violence. Put on Dora.
Hmm. You got Dora and Diego. Be happy with that. Maybe the occasional Blues Clues, but even that's a little risque, you know?
I'm surprised she let me.
Dog fighting, Joe. It's about dog fighting.
I was about to say, wait. I was about to say, I'm surprised she let me watch Pokemon. She's not like animals
Mm,
fighting each other. What the hell is this?
actual dog fighting. Um, moving back to Atlantis from that tangent. Um, real quick, because the opening of this film, I've seen like a couple like behind the scenes making ofs and like documentaries and stuff, and I always find it interesting going back to the beginning of this film how it focuses on the destruction of Atlantis and Kita and like her mother being summoned by the crystal to become one with it. When do you know what the original opening for this film was?
Oh, I have no clue. I've actually never really watched any YouTube videos on this topic.
Interesting. I might link you something later on. That's just I think compilation of like all the behind the scenes and documentary stuff about it. But the original opening to the film, and this is all fully animated and fully voiced, like it was made. It is it takes place during the time of the Vikings, and the Vikings are currently they're looking through the Shepherd's Journal and they're talking and they're trying to find Atlantis, and they're on the ocean and it's storming and they're having a dispute over they're like it should be right here, and the other guy's like, well, it's not here, so what the hell is going on? And then amidst all this chaos and like the storm, the screaming, all of a sudden the Leviathan, you don't see it in full. I think you just see a claw or a tail just come up and eviscerate the ship, and then like the Shepherd's Journal, it's like floats up to the top of the sea, and then I think you have the title card come in that's like Atlantis, and then it goes to Milo in his office or thing. But it was like it's teasing the destructive force of the Leviathan and like the mythology of Atlantis. Like you don't actually see it until they finally discover it like an hour into the film, and they were just like, okay, this seems like a problem. And one of the I think it was either one of the storyboard guys or just one of the story guys in general. After they were screening the film, and he comes up to the directors and he's just like, "Guys, now I know we've put a lot of work into this, but it could be better." And so he told them like to do what they ended up doing in the film, which is like focus on Kida as a little girl, and we witness the destruction of Atlantis. That way, we see all that stuff first. And they're like, "Fuck, yeah, he's right." But we already edit. We got to do what we got to do. And I always find that so interesting because you've like the amount of time and effort put into even like a few like 2-3 minute sequence like that in the beginning of the film. It's like that's hours and hours and days of work put into that, and they're just like, not that this guy's right. We got to do the other thing, and they just are like, all right, cut a room floor with you, new thing, go for it.
Yeah, I had no clue. Both that opening sounds very cool though. Like I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's available. Like you can find it if you search for it. It's just like I don't know, just search up like Atlantis cut opening scene or something like that, and you will be able to find it very easily.
Yeah, I that sounds pretty badass. I don't know which one I would like more. I understand why they ended up going with the actual one that they used because I love that opening. That's one of the first notes I have is like that's a really great opening because first off, I'm like, holy shit, made in 2001. This is really damn good animation. Holds up
It's
really
so
well.
good.
Which we also literally so we talked about this in Akira. 88 and the animation holds up. We talked about it in Treasure Planet. I'm not sure what year Treasure Planet is. Is that 2002?
I believe it's 2002. Keep talking. I'll do a quick goog.
Okay. Treasure Planet is also one where the animation holds up really well. It's just like when you put in the time and effort to it, it can really, really look good. And this is one of those where those first like 3 minutes are they're showing off how nice the animation's going to be for the whole movie. They're showing off Atlantis and the amazing technology of the actual society.
Hmm.
And the one thing I noticed is like if you think about it, if you don't, I mean, everybody's probably heard of Atlantis and you just think it's like, oh, the city under the sea, but like there is a lot of mythology to it and how it got under the sea and stuff like that. So seeing the destruction of it, and also introducing us to Kida and stuff like that, I think was a really smart move and it gets you hooked. I think both openings would get me interested, but I don't know. Seeing the technology is pretty badass, and I think that gets me interested the most.
Yeah, definitely. Because the opening also has Chekhov's bracelet, which I don't know why, but I couldn't remember if it came back at the end of the film, and I was just like, does it come? Like they're focusing on this bracelet a lot. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this comes back, and hopping straight to the end, it does come back, but we'll get to that later. Also, Treasure Planet, yes, 2002. So right on the money with that. And yeah, for my money, a lot of money talk today. I don't know why, but for my money, the actual theatrical opening that we got, I think works way better, just because like the Viking opening is cool and it does add a lot to the mystique and also build up the Leviathan a lot more. It's like, oh god, what the fuck was that? But actually becoming invested in Atlantis and Kida, I think it works way better and it just keeps you more hooked on the characters in this film rather than like the spectacle, because there's a lot of spectacle,
Yeah.
but there's just as much attention given to characters. But also, you brought up something that I am intrigued by because you said like we get to see how Atlantis sank and like the cause and that sort of thing. I want to know. I'm curious as to what exactly caused Atlantis to sink, because in the beginning, obviously, there's a big explosion. It kind of does start off similar to Akira as
Mm-hmm.
well, where there's an explosion in the beginning that like the
Yep.
destruction of
A lot of
a
similarity there.
yeah. But if you remember, one of the Atlanteans, as they're flying away on their fish ships, fit wait, on their fish ships. Yeah. Why is that so hard? Try saying that. Fish ships.
Fish, ships, fish chips, fish dicks, dick fish. What?
Uh-huh. Very nice. As they're flying away on their dick fish. That wait, no.
Did you
You actually
actually?
incepted my
Oh,
goddamn brain.
wow, that was impressive. I'm
Um,
good. That's
mhm.
a college degree at work, baby.
I don't know for hypnosis, I guess. Right?
I'm a bio major. Don't worry about it.
All right, I guess I'll just keep on living my life. But you see in the beginning when he's flying away on his fish ship, he's like, "You fool! You've killed us all!" And I'm like, "Who? Who? Who are you talking?" He's looking at another soldier, presumably. And he's like, "You've killed us." I'm like, "What did he do? What did that? Let's call him Greg, the guy that he's accusing. Um, what the fuck did Greg do? Because Greg really fucked up."
All right, two things. Two things I gotta say here. I don't specifically remember hearing that. I do remember seeing in the opening that like when they start putting like the barrier down to protect themselves, like the big dome. They do make a notice that like not everybody gets back. Like you see
Hmm.
that not everybody gets back. So I don't know if that was in reference to that. Like oh my god, like
No,
okay,
it
no,
is not.
okay.
It is literally in like the first 20 seconds of the film after the explosion when you see all the fish coming at you. There's a guy who go like as they're flying away. There's a guy on a fish ship who goes, "You fool! You have killed us all." And it was a subtitle, and I wrote it down because I was like, "What did he do? What did this man do?"
Interesting, because I think it's Kita that says. I think Milo asks like what happened? Like how did you guys get here? And Kita's like, oh, the gods got jealous or something like that. Um,
Yeah, but she doesn't know. She was a tiny child, and her father's lying to her.
so I guess it's kind of
Mm.
ambiguous.
Yeah, it seemed because then the father also has a line later on where he's like, "In my youth, I sought to use the power of the crystal as a weapon, and we paid dearly for that." So in my head, I'm
Mm,
thinking like, here's my head canon real
let me
quick.
hear it.
So not Greg, the king was like, "All right, so we have this almighty power, and I can. This is my nuclear deterrent right here. I will rule all, or at least just protect our nation with the power of this crystal." And so, as a test of like showing might, maybe, or maybe just a test to see what it would do, like the potential destructive force of this thing, he sent out a squadron of soldiers, which included Greg, good old Greg, and they went out to either test or show the power of the crystal. And in doing so, because they didn't quite understand just how powerful it would be, it caused the massive explosion and then the wave that then came and engulfed all of Atlantis. And so I'm thinking it's really the king's fault, but Greg was the middleman here.
You don't think Greg is the king?
No, no, because the king we see back at the we see the king with his
Oh,
wife
true, true,
and
true. Okay, good
Kita
point, good
there,
point.
and
Yes.
these guys are flying away. So Greg is a different individual, but my brain is very stuck on Greg. If you've noticed, because we've been talking for like 20 minutes about this movie and we haven't gotten past the fucking opening scene.
Well, I like that headcanon. I think it's good. I would support it.
Make Greg a real character. Moving on.
Yeah, well, I don't know about Greg. I feel like he's got to have a cooler Atlantean name than that.
uh, Kita ends in A. Atlantis ends in IS. Gregis?
I was thinking more of a Samson.
Samson? We're going biblical with this stuff now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sure. So let's call him Greg Sampson. That's his full name.
Not bad, not bad. I like
There we
it.
go. New character. All right, Joe. Let's move on past the opening scene. What else you got?
When I was younger, the Leviathan scared the shit out of me. Every time
Mm-hmm.
I watched it, the Leviathan, I'd be like, oh my god, I like put my hood up or like hide in a blanket. Oh my, yeah. When I was younger, it scared the crap out of me. Um, and then also two other things, just like Treasure Planet. I had a shit ton of toys for this movie, baby. Um,
Ooh, what kind of toys?
oh my god, I had the fish ship. I had like the little fish
Oh,
ships
okay.
with a toy Milo. I had one of the summer like the small two-person submarines.
Mm.
Um, I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I think I just had the I'm trying to remember if I had the drill. I don't think I did. I think it was just a submarine and one of the fish ships. Because I remember I would play with the fish ship and Jim's solar kite thing, and I would like play with both of them because I thought they were badass. But those like, and to connect to the toys, the design of the machinery, specifically the American machinery, and it's 1914. Keep in
Mm.
mind that's when it takes place. Super steampunk inspired.
It's so steampunk inspired, and I love that steampunk aesthetic. The I think the sub design. Now, I don't have many sub designs buried away in this old noggin, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I was I was quick enough to write down. I was like, you know what? I don't have a whole lot to compare it to, but I'm gonna say it. Coolest submarine design in cinema. I'm saying it.
It's pretty fucking
I'm
badass.
saying it.
Yeah, the designs of the actual. I mean, the Atlantean stuff is awesome too. It's like this mixture of Pacific Islander heritage, and even like the way that the people are drawn, and
Hmm.
the tattoos and stuff like that. I don't know. It kind of reminds me a little bit like the Maori from New Zealand or like some Hawaiian cultures. Um, but then when it comes to like the machinery and stuff, it's almost like Aztec, like it's made out of stone.
Yeah.
It's a lot of this like cross cultural stuff that just comes off super. It's this balance of um, not looking almost looking old and historic, but the way it actually works is like the modern day people can't even understand it. Like the actual software doesn't make sense to
Hmm.
them.
Yeah, definitely. Because then you have all the stuff with the fish ships where it's like you got to put your hand on the pad and then you got to do half turn left, quarter turn right, and then it like turns on. It's like electricity essentially. It's just like some weird crystal electricity, and it's like a handprint reader, so we can see that. And it's like, what the hell? And they can shoot freaking laser beams out of the mouths of the fish ships. It's awesome. It's really cool. So everything like design wise in this movie, utterly adore. I love it all.
Yeah, yeah. It's and I like not yeah, even just the design of Atlantis itself with all the greenery, but it also being a city. Literally, I don't I mean, this is obviously because I'm biased to New Zealand, but like it really does remind me of New Zealand where it was like it's a city, but it's just it's almost like the cityscape and the greenery have molded together. They're not really separate. It's
Yes.
all in one, and I love it.
They have combined together like Kida and the crystal to become Kida Crystal.
Peter Chris
My ultimate final form. I'm,
or
I'm like a Power Ranger villain.
Crystal Kita.
Crystal Kita. No, that's the rarity of the trading card. The Kita Crystal with or maybe it works better. I don't know. I don't care. Either way sounds cool.
Two other things. I
Hmm.
love the markings or the tattoos on the Atlanteans. And obviously I'm biased because I love tattoos, but I think theirs look awesome. Like I said, it reminds me of kind of like the Maori tattoos. Um, I love. Oh my goodness, this is another thing that scared me when I was younger, and I swore, like I thought it was true. Um, the fireflies.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes, very literal.
yeah. I literally thought, I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, does that happen with fireflies? Can they set shit on fire? Like this is like little like 8-year-old Joe thinking like, oh my god, I ain't touching one of them bitches.
If I step on a firefly, my entire foot will ignite. Oh no.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot of the notes I took down. I'm like, were a couple of like the little things where it's like, oh, I like appreciate this a lot more since I was younger, and like since I'm older, I appreciate some of the more technical stuff of this more. But a lot of the notes I wrote down were like old, like oh, I thought about this when I was younger, or like because this movie, like I said, like this is one of my dad's favorites. He loved watching this, and my dad loved the trifecta as well. Joe, you could probably have a good conversation literally with my dad about all three, like the trifecta, the Treasure Planet, Iron Giant, and Atlantis. Like, loves them. It was
That's
like
that's got to be a podcast episode at some point where it's just the three, like all of us are get on the podcast and we talk about the Trinity.
like yeah, that was like the go-to whenever it was like maybe like my mom had to work or something like that, and it was just my brother, and I like chilling out. Like we always watch one of those movies because I love them, he loved them. They're easy. Like I would have the toys, so I would play with the toys while I was watching it. Oh my goodness, lot of nostalgia.
Mm. All right. I'm going to start talking about the adventure part of the movie because I don't know what it is. No, I know what it is. I just love adventure parts of movies, like like Indiana Jones. It's great. This movie, it's great. In The Rocketeer, there was a bit of like kind of adventuring about and like fiddling around with different things. Like even in Iron Man as well, where he's doing like all the fiddling and building of the Iron Man suit. Like the second act of movies, if you can do either like you're building something cool and unique, and it's like a cool montage of that, or you're exploring something cool and unique and you're finding all these different little things. I love it every single time. And so that segment where they actually, the submarine submerges and you have that awesome shot of Milo in the big dome in the front, and it goes past the camera, and it's so cool because it's insane. It's CGI, and they painted stuff over it, and for the time it was incredible, and still today it looks awesome. And then you have the Leviathan fight, which we talked about very briefly with with regards to Mrs. Packard on the phone. But then you see the battle between the actual Leviathan and the submarine itself, and they're getting eviscerated. Like they're trying to fire everything they have at this thing, and it's like, I don't give a shit. I will sink you like every other one of these motherfuckers that are in this, this aqua cavern. And like, oh, we gotta fucking bail. And so they all get into their submarines, or their smaller submarines, and they launch out of the bigger submarine, and they go into the crevice thing. And what's Milo saying? He's like, it's just like your grease trap in your sink. It's just like the grease trap in your sink.
Yeah.
He's about to try not to like throw up or like pass out because he's so scared. And then they come up, and then it's just an awesome like montage of going through all these different regions. Like there's a deserty region, there's a snowy region, there's a region that's like super dark and like very coolly lit because it's got that firefly lamp thing at the top. It's just awesome seeing all that sort of adventure stuff.
I can also say I enjoy the comedy in this. This is good, like child comedy, but also I can still laugh at it being older. Like one of the things I still find funny is when they get to the little fork in the road and Milo looks at the book and he's like, yeah, to the left. They go to the left and like the giant centipede thing comes out, and then he's like looks at the book again, turns it upside down. He's like, oh, okay, to the right. And
Wait a minute. To the right. I like that a lot in a meta context though, because it's like there's only two ways. So just go the other way.
I know. It's so stupid, but it makes me laugh every time.
It does. It's so very good. Yeah, again, almost anything Vinny says, I absolutely love. The paperclip line, it's great. His talking about how the what's it called?
The flower shop.
The flower shop, but the thing next door, the laundromat.
Oh.
How the laundromat next door like exploded and went up in flames and sent him through, and he was like, "It's a sign from God." I'm just like, so good. I love everything that comes out of your mouth. Miss Packard, when everyone's having their heart to heart, and Milo's like, "Oh, what? Did you forget you leave your pajamas in your tent or whatever?" And she's like, "I sleep in the nude." And he's just like, "Ah."
And she sleepwalks.
Sweet, yeah, exactly. Sweet throws him the mask. He's like, "Might want one of these." She sleepwalks, and Milo's just like, "Ah, shit."
Yo, I was thinking, Vinny is just a grown-up version of that kid from Super 8. I forget his name.
Oh yes, the one who's we call him miniature Michael Bay, the one who's just always making the explosions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. He, God, that's so true.
Oh man.
It's so funny. And then moving on to actually discovering Atlantis and like just the setting, I always found something to be really really cool. In that documentary I was talking about earlier, they explained that the actual team working on Atlantis created an ecosystem that they could then refer back to, and they were like, we're never gonna, just word vomit and like exposit all the information being like, yeah, so this is how we get our water and this is where all the life comes from. It's like, no, 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 we just made it so that way we would have a stable backbone for us to be working off of. That way everything we create seems that much more believable and makes sense to the viewer. And you can see that a lot in like all like the little details of how the setting of Atlantis, it's within like this dormant volcano. So there's all this geothermal heat that then is the cause for like all the steam to like be around, and like all the water that kind of like still flows everywhere, and that's how you get like the heat for the life and everything like that, and that's how it then can like provide the heat for the wildlife, and that's how the ecosystem just keeps functioning. And I just think about that and I'm like, oh my god, the thought process put into stuff like this, it's incredible and it shows, and I fucking love it.
Goes back to show don't tell, man. It's the easiest thing if you can do it right. Um, and I mean this goes back to the whole this movie being an hour and a half long. Like they make good use of that hour and a half. There's not really any slow moments besides maybe like the exploring montage. But even then, that's funny. It's interesting. It's cool. It's a little bit of world building. And no, they do a really good job. They don't spend any time kind of being like, oh well, let's explain everything here so that people don't question it or just like have to go along with it. It's like no, just seeing it, you kind of understand what's happening.
Yeah, and I appreciate it that much more. Um, and then we get to the part where things sort of take a nasty turn, where Rourke shows his true colors, and all of the other side characters. They also are kind of just like, oh yeah, we're not evil, we're
We're
just
pirates.
assholes. Well, basically pirates. Yeah.
Oh my
And
God,
so they're
that's literally
what?
the same exact thing that happened in Treasure Planet. Oh, this is our crew. We're going to. It's literally Treasure Planet, but it's Atlantis. Think about that. Young
It's
kid
a
finds a map to a place where he wants to go, hires a crew, they go to it, ends up that the crew turns on them. It's literally just changing a different skin. I'm being dramatic here, but I just that's so
yeah.
weird how similar that is.
Yeah, it is kind of similar in that sense. Um, but yeah, and I remember when I first saw that, because when you're a kid, I remember always splitting the movie in my head in like two different parts, where it was like everything before Milo and Kita take that water dive was like everything is super happy and joyous and always great, and then when they resurface, I was like, oh, now this is a different part of the movie where everyone's a villain, and like now it's like you can go back and kind of see when you don't have little kid brain, it's like, oh yeah, they were always just kind of in this. They weren't like evil villains. They were just sort of like, all right, we're just gonna try and scare these people into showing us the thing. Some of them are like that, and then other people are like, no, I'm actually going to murder you all unless you give me what I want, Rourke. And he does. He ends up basically killing the king.
Rourke is a buffer version of Jim. Is it Jim Mansley?
I don't know, what are you referring to.
Iron Man, not Iron Man. Iron Giant. The,
What?
the guy. The guy.
Oh,
Uh, I'm tired,
Kent
guys.
Mansley. Kent. His name is Kent Mansley.
Kent Mansley. He's like a buffer version of Kent Mansley.
Yes, and much more capable version of Kent Mansley, because
Yes.
Kent Mansley is a bumbling idiot. This guy is a like he's a general. He's a battle hardened general.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think of it where it's like he literally only selfish needs, and I was like, I don't know. I was even the face a little bit. I'm like, oh God, you're pissing me off.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that in the way he's depicted. Which also, real quick, like just talking about the way this movie looks and like the stylization of it, I think the reason this movie holds up so well, looks wise at least, is just because the way it's stylized is so unique. It's like almost, I don't know if timeless is the right word, but it ages at like a way different capacity than like a lot of stuff. Because I feel like there's a time there's a time span of things where it's like 2000s and like 90s cartoon stuff. You can kind of tell, like your Dexter's Laboratory, your Danny Phantoms, um, other things you can throw in there. I'm just saying too because that's all that comes to my head right now. But there's like a definite style that you can think of, and when you look at something like Atlantis, it's definitely like it stands out as being stylistically different. And then you move into like your late 2000s, your 2010s, that sort of era, and then everything kind of has that like CGI'd animation look, like a Pixar kind of computerized stuff. And so just comparing that to it has elements of both. Granted, limited elements of CGI because it was at such an early time for that sort of stuff. But still, it has elements of both, and it works them in such a cool, stylized way. Based a lot of the stuff off of designs by Mike Mignola, comic book artist for Hellboy. Haha, a little tidbit fact for you. But just like I just love the way it does look, and I'm so happy that they kind of found this happy little distinction that kind of makes it its own complete thing.
Yeah, it's oh man, it really is special, not just with what it means to us, but really the way it looks. It has that it's got its own unique style, and I would say Treasure Planet is right next to that with the style. And it's hard to put a finger on it. Like I don't even know what name to give it. Because like you said, it's right into the transition from the '90s into the 2000s, and I feel like a lot of the 2000 like the Disney movies after this, like Cars, like the Pixar stuff. This is kind of like the last, like I'd say, like couple like traditional Disney animated movies.
Yeah, it was definitely. I think it was one of the last because then Treasure Planet came along and ended it for everything. It was like that was the final nail in the coffin. They were like, "Yep, see, it doesn't. Adventure films suck. Get fucked, everyone." And then you have guys like us who are just like, "What? No, wait, hang on. This is actually really good, and I really like it. Fuck you."
Yeah, and I want to bring up at the end about the Atlantis sequel.
Mm. You can talk about it now. Like we just
Why
go
did
for
it
it.
get a sequel?
Why did it get a sequel? I think because they wanted to explore a little bit more stuff. Have you seen the sequel, Milo Returns?
Yeah, have you?
Yeah, I think I saw the sequel more than I saw the original because I had the sequel on DVD and not the original.
Yes, I've seen the sequel. Also used to scare the crap out of me. The Kraken.
The
Um,
Kraken part was great. Like that stuff of yeah, that scared the crap out of me. I was like, no, 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 no. Everything else though, I was like, this is just cool stuff. Like sand dogs, dope.
yeah,
Love sand dogs.
yeah.
Ragnarok, sick.
Oh
Give
man.
me that all day.
Yeah, like I just thinking about that, I'm like, how did this movie get a sequel and Treasure Planet didn't? Like I have no clue how this movie did in theaters and stuff like that, but um I don't know. It's strange that we really don't get movies like this anymore, and viewing I like viewing Iron Giant, Treasure Planet, and Atlantis because it's like its own little time capsule of this little period. I mean, in my life, but also in animation history, where it's like something unique was going on here.
Hmm. Yeah, that in that 4 year span, they were just like, okay, we'll let you guys do these because like I don't think anyone really wanted like any bigwigs really wanted some of these movies to be made. Like there's like entire video essays on Treasure Planet and how Disney tried to bury the fuck out of that. Um, I don't think Atlantis had that much of a troubling lead up to it, but I do think there was some pushback. Iron Giant I'm less familiar with, but even so, it's pretty clear since there's hasn't excuse me, it's pretty clear since there hasn't really been anything since then like those things that they were just like, nah, fuck that shit. We're gonna stick to making stuff like Inside Out, and we're gonna do live action remakes of all of our original animated stuff. You guys like that shit? Yeah, you do. We'll just make it anyway.
Yeah, these movies have a very special place in my heart.
Hmm. I love them very, very dearly. Um, we didn't talk too heavily on like exactly everything beat for beat plot wise. I don't really think we need to though. It's it's just awesome. Like I appreciate this movie a whole lot. If you don't know what we're talking about, go watch it. What do you do? Watch this movie. It's great.
It's an easy watch, hour and a half, sit down, it's enjoyable. The ending is exciting. You get a lot of action at the end. Some more character development, and I don't know, like the actual Joe. I will say, like the actual ending, like the last like 2 minutes where I forget the old guy, the old dude who
Whitmore.
Yeah, Whitmore, when he like opens up the envelope and it's the picture with the necklace. I actually teared up. I got emotional at the end, and I never watching this movie got emotional, but that part for some reason really got me. Like, oh man, that was pretty cute.
Ah, you're getting old, Joe.
I'm a
You're
big
getting
softie.
emotional in your old age.
Exactly.
It didn't make me tear up, but I felt a swell of emotion. So give me another decade, I'll be bawling like a baby.
I'm happy.
Anything?
To hear that.
And I just because I mentioned it earlier in the video, so I have to mention it here again because it's the rule. Chekhov's bracelet comes back at the end. I remembered because I saw it, and when Kita comes out of the fucking crystal, she's holding the bracelet, and I'm just like, that crystal held that bracelet for thousands of years. It was like I'm gonna get her one of these days. It won't be tomorrow, won't be the next day, but I'll get her one of these days. I swear to God. Then I'll give her this goddamn bracelet that I've been holding on to for 8,000 years.
And I like how they don't really, like, they point it out. They do the little pan and you see it, but they don't dwell on it. You have to be paying attention to actually make a notice of it.
Yeah, it was just like, here's a shot of bracelet, pause for effect, and good, and moving on. And it's like, oh yeah, lovely, thank you. All right, so Joe, I'm giving this movie a wonderfully solid 8 out of 10.
I'm giving this a wonderfully solid 8 out of 10.
Wonderful. Yeah, I figured we'd probably be pretty damn close on this
I
one.
think this is the first one that we got the same score. Maybe?
No, I think we've done so in the past, but it's been a while. It's been a very long time.
Wow. Look at that. Awesome. 8 out of 10. Yeah, I think that's a good place for it.
All right, so this means it is now your turn to pick for next week. What are we watching, Joe?
Well, everybody... oh, man, I'm excited. So, Joe and I are graduating this week on Friday. So that means we got to watch my favorite movie of all time. We're watching With Honors with my man Joe Pesci and Brendan Fraser.
The Frage.
Oh, man, this is easily my favorite movie of all time, and I think it forever will be. I'm watching this the night before I graduate. It's awesome. It's so simple, and I'm excited to actually talk about it because I can talk about this movie for days. I love everything.
All right. Well, I look forward to watching that, especially because we're going to be in that position very, very soon. Unless a meteor hits campus and then everyone dies, which hope that doesn't happen. All right, everyone, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that wonderful, beautiful stuff. You know the dealio. Have you seen Atlantis? If not, why you listen to this all the way to the end? Well, I don't understand, but okay. Love you for doing that. Also, go watch Atlantis. It's very good. And with that, we shall say, don't touch any strange crystals. We love you, we leave you, and goodbye.